Hello there all my lovely jewelry makers, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these cute paw prints wirework cabochons. Now if you like the ones that I've made here, I do have them available for sale in my shop, so you can go and check that out using the link in the description box down below, where you can also sign up for my newsletter. But if you want to learn how you can make your own, then keep watching. So these are all the tools and materials that we'll need. Now all the wire that I'm using is a regular round silver coated copper wire, and the first gauge here is a 1mm, that's going to be the base wire. Next I'm using a 0.8mm to make the paw prints with. A 0.4mm is going to be our weaving wire. And finally, I'm going to use a 0.3mm to attach some pieces together. And of course, we can't forget a cabochon, so I'm using a 3x4cm teardrop shaped purple agate gemstone cabochon, but you can really use any size and shape you want for this. As for the tools, of course, we need some flush cutters so we can cut our wire, tweezer nose pliers to help manipulate the wire. I'm going to use my 6-step bail making pliers to get uniform shapes, and finally a crochet hook just to help shape the bail. Now you can find all the tools and materials in the description box down below, along with useful links. Otherwise, let's get it all ready and let's get started. Then we need to cut some lengths of our wire, and first of all here I have 4 lengths of my 1mm of about 30 centimeters each. Now of course that will depend on the cabochon you're using. Then I have a length of my 0.8mm also of about 30 centimeters, and this is going to be used to make the paw prints with. As for the 0.4mm, I'm just going to leave this attached to the reel so we have minimum wastage. Now to get started, I want to take my 4 lengths of 1mm base wire here, and we need to make a weave across the middle of them. So I'm just going to start with one, and then I've got my weaving wire, and first of all I want to start towards one end, but I want to leave a length from the end of the base wire because we want the weave to be across the middle of it and have somewhat even lengths on both ends. I'm going to just put the weaving wire behind the base wire there, leave a short little tail so we can hold on to that, wrap it around to attach it, and then bring in the next base wire, just lay that on top of the other one as the new top one, then go over the top of both base wires, down behind, over the top again, and just make sure that these wraps are nice and tight, so you can always use pliers to help push them together. And then I want to come up between those 2 base wires that we just wrapped over the top of, and that can also help push down and tighten up your wraps there. Then bring in another base wire, place that as the new top one, then go over the top of the top 2 base wires, come up between the bottom 2 again, so we can go over the top of the top 2 once more, so it's 2 times every time. Come up between those 2 that we just wrapped over the top of, push that down, and then we have 1 base wire left, which I'm going to bring in and place as the new top one. And then just like the other times, I'm going to go over the top of the top 2, come up in the same place and over the top of them again. So basically we created almost little steps moving from the bottom towards the top, and this is really all I'm going to keep doing. So bring the weaving wire down behind all of them, wrap around the bottom 2 base wires, and then that will just sit below the top wraps there, come up between them, go over the top of the 2 middle ones, do 2 wraps there, push them nice and tight, come up between those 2 to then wrap around the top 2. So we're kind of creating these multiple steps within the wire weave and just continuing that. So this is just the weave that I'm doing now. You can choose whichever weave you prefer. I have a whole playlist full of tutorials with different wire weaves. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description box down below. Otherwise, choose whatever wire weave you prefer. Make the weave across the middle here, the length that you need to go around the cabochon. So a tip for knowing how long you need to make your weave is bring in your cabochon and then grab a length of scrap wire or cord, whatever you have handy, and then place that around the circumference of the cabochon, put a little bend into it where the wire meets itself, and then straighten it back out, and then you have kind of a reference you can keep referring back to as you're making your weave to see when you reach the right length. And then once you have that, what I'm going to do is start shaping this length of weave around the stone. So I want to place the middle of the weave at the bottom of the cabochon there, and then just start pushing it against the cabochon around the sides so the ends of the weave come up towards the top and the 2 ends basically meet up at the top, so we end up with something like this. And then you can obviously just double check if you have the right length of the weave. If you need to make more, you can always just do that, or if you need to undo any, you can do that as well. Then what we just want to do is deal with the wires here at the top, because what we want is for the wires to intertwine like this instead of just being next to each other in the groups like they are now. So we just take one at a time, take the back one from one side, bring it between the 2 back ones on the other, and then the next one, repeat between the next 2 wires, and just continue like that until they're all intertwined, until it looks a little something like that. And then I like to just double check that everything still fits nicely with the cabochon, so it hasn't become too big or too small. We are now ready to start dealing with the top wires here and also working on the bail. So I'm going to go to the back first of all, and then we have the back wire here, and I want to bring that downwards and then base it back towards the side where it's coming from, and just put a gentle curve into it. Then then the new back one is coming from the opposite side. I want to do the same with that, so bring it downwards but back out towards the side that it's coming from, and we don't have to do anything final yet. Then the next back one I'm also going to bring down and back out to the side it's coming from, kind of just sitting next to the very first one. And then the next one, the same, down and out to the side it's coming from. So we've done that with 2 on each side now, the 2 back ones, and they're just coming down at the back of the frame here. And then next we have these 2 wires, so the new back one and then the one after that, they're coming from each their own side. These are the 2 wires that I'm going to use for the bail. And what I like to do before I start shaping them is put the cabochon back in place and then basically hold it the best I can, push the frame around the cabochon, and then I can see better where those 2 wires meet, so I can tell where I need to put a bend in. So just put your pliers on the first wire, and then I want to bend it back towards the side that it's coming from, something like that. And then the same on the other side, the new back one, bend that backwards towards the side it's coming from. And then we can always just check from the front how it looks, because I want them to kind of come out at an angle evenly on both sides. So you can just adjust that however you need, and also just straighten them out, and then they are pretty much ready for us to start making the bail. Then I put my cabochon back in because now we need to start weaving the bail here. And also the weaving wire I'm just going to bring in between the wires on the back here and up behind this first wire that we're using for the bail. And then again I'm just making sure that the frame is tight around the cabochon. We just need to hold the cabochon in place for the first round or two, just so we know we get the sizing right. So I'm going to wrap the weaving wire, which is still attached to the reel by the way, around the first base wire. So this is going to be the bottom one and this is the top one. It's just how I'm holding it. And I'm going to be using the diagonal wire weave for this. So around the bottom one by itself, then over the top of both of them, up between them, and around the top one by itself. And right here at the bottom, it could be handy just to use your pliers to help push down your wraps, because we can't really get our fingers in there. And then repeat around the bottom one, over the top of both of them, and then around the top one. And then we just want to continue like this. Now, as you can see, my wires here are going outwards at an angle. So what I'm going to do is weave until I reach what's going to be the top part of the bail once we shape it. So that's going to also be the widest part. And now I can also remove the cabochon because we've done the first couple of rounds, and I can just keep weaving until that point. So now I reach what's going to be the widest point there. What I'm then going to do is take my tweezer nose pliers and put a bend into them, just a gentle one, and make the wires come more towards each other again. So basically they're going to be going from the wider point to a narrower point now. And we're going to keep weaving the same wire weave, but the only difference is now when we weave, the wire is going to want to slip towards the narrower point. So to prevent that, what I like to do is, as I'm weaving, I like to hold down the previous wrap that I did on the opposite side while I then do the new wrap. So same principle, as I'm going to do this wrap here on the top, I'm holding down the wrap that I just did on the opposite side, and it's just to avoid the wire slipping and becoming uneven. So you just want to keep doing this until we have the full length that we need. So now with the full length here, we can just get rid of the excess weaving wire. So just cut that off. And then to shape the bail, first of all, I just want to push it forward a little bit, and then I'm going to take my crochet hook here, whatever kind of mandrel you have, and then I want to place that a little below the middle behind the bail, and then push the top end around it and back on itself all the way until it comes down at the back, and then we have this open bail shape. And then here on the back, I just want to use the weaving wire we have left from the bail and just attach it to some of the wires in the frame. So just bring it around one of the other base wires here so we can attach it securely to the frame. Wrap it around that wire a couple of times, and that way the bail is more fastened to the frame. And then we can just go in and cut off the excess. So basically get rid of the remaining wire, and then just make sure to push that little end in and out of the way so it's not going to be sticking out and catching or scratching on any skin or clothes. And you can also just take the other end here of the weaving wire and get rid of that as well. Then I just want to go to the front and then just deal with these 2 front wires from the frame. Now all I'm going to do is take the back one first of all, the one that's closest to the bail, and just bring it around the side of the bail, the side that it's naturally coming towards, around towards the back, and then literally just down behind and kind of join up with all the other wires. And I'm just going to place it where it's going to end up sitting, so next to the 2 wires coming straight down from the bail there, in between them, and then the next wires further out to the side. And of course just the same with the other one. So we're kind of just finishing them off nicely at the front here, and then bringing them around to the back, where we're then going to end up finishing off and capturing the cabochon once we've also added our paw prints, which is what we're going to work on now. So for that, I'm grabbing my length that I cut ready for the paw prints, and I'm also going to be using my 6-step bell making pliers for this. this. And for this, I'm only going to be using the smallest step on these pliers here. So I'm just going to place my wire and start right from the end. And then I'm going to put a bend into it against the pliers and have it be about 90 degrees or so. And then again, working with that smallest step, I'm going a bit down the wire, about a centimeter or so, place the pliers and then again, put a bend into it. Now this time I'm bringing the wire further around, pretty much coming back up next to itself like that. And then I'm going to be using these pliers throughout because I don't want any sharp bends or anything. It's all going to be nice and curved. I'm placing the pliers in pretty much the same place, but now the small one is on the other side, and then put about a 90 degree into it again, coming back out to the other side, and then placing the pliers right on the other side of that bend, bringing it all the way around again. And now making sure it goes over the top of the end of the wire. If we look from one angle, we kind of created a little hat, but this is going to be, you could say, the palm part of the paw print. And then we need to start making the little toes. So I'm just going to start on the side where the wire is coming from. So I'm placing my pliers so the small side that is on the outside of it, and then I'm bringing the wire all the way around and create a full circle. So just move your pliers whenever you need to, create the full circle, and the wire is coming in the same direction that it was coming before adding that circle. And then place your pliers so we can do the same thing at the very top, create another circle, bring it all the way around, and this time I'm bringing it underneath everything else. And now we want the wire to come down the other side of the paw print. So you can see it's almost complete. We just need to make the last toe part. So the final circle, place your pliers, bring it all the way around. So we get another full circle, and you basically have your finished paw print there, the very first one. And then I just want to bring the wire all the way around in the same circle. So further around, just following the circle we already made, come all the way up to the top, and then the wire is behind the other wires. So it's going to lay just behind the circles there at the top and kind of hide behind them. And that is the first paw print, and that is now in position to start the next paw print. So I'm just grabbing my tweezers nose pliers now just to make a bend in the wire so we can get the right angle for the next one. And then I'm going to go back to my 6-step L making pliers, and we're going to start again with the palm part of the paw print. I want all of them to kind of face in the same direction as they're walking in the same direction, but obviously they're going to be curved to follow the frame that we have. So where we are now is going to be the base of the next paw print. So I need to move up the wire a bit, again about 1 centimeter, so the same as the first time we did it. Then put a bend into it, that 90 degree. That's going to be the top part where we're going to create the toes around it, and then come down the other side to create the other side of the paw print and bring it all the way back up on itself like that. And then to put that little, you could say, cleft in the hat, so it's kind of an upside down hat shape, place your pliers and bring it back down, kind of a 90 degree angle. So we can then complete the palm part here by going back around and base it over the top of the very beginning part. And then there you can see again, we kind of have a hat first of all, which is upside down in the paw print. And then we need to start making the toes. Same principle. In this case though, I'm just going the opposite direction. So I'm just going to start on the other side. Place your pliers to make the very first circle, bring it all the way around. And again, I'm going over the top to create that full circle and come back in the same direction the wire was going in. So that is the first one. Then we need to create the one that's at the very top. So you could say the one in the middle. Place your pliers, create that full circle, and this one goes underneath, and then bring it out to the opposite side of the paw print. And then we just got to create the last one. So place the pliers and then bring the wire all the way around to create that full circle. And again, I'm going to go around one more time underneath itself. So we get the full circle, and then we get the wire into position towards the top of the paw print, just like before. So we can then make a bend here and start creating the next paw print, but with the wire kind of hiding behind the other wires, so it's a little bit seamless. So for the next one, I'm going to place my pliers on the wire just after where it's coming out from underneath that previous paw print, because I'm going to now kind of start in the middle of this next paw print and then put that about 90 degree angle, bend into it, and then go down the side, bring the wire all the way back on itself, go up to what's going to be the middle or the top part, about a 90 degree bend down the other side to then complete the kind of palm part, and then make sure it overlaps the other wire. So you can kind of see we have that upside down hat shape. Obviously the wire is going over the top of it, which is then why we need to continue the shape. So basically just trace the wire that we've already done, make sure it lays right on top of it, it to come over to this other side where we can then start to create the little toes just like we did in this second one down here. So that's 3 of them done. And then for the last one here, I'm going to go up the wire and again start with the palm part, so up about 1 centimeter or so, and then put the 90-degree bend into it, come down the other side, again the same length. So we're first creating the palm part, and this time bring it straight up next to itself. Then we need to create the part that's technically the cleft part of the hat, and then the other curve to basically come over the top of itself like that, where we then have the complete upside down heart shape. And then we're in position to start making the toes in the exact same way as we've done previously. So starting on this side, do the first circle around the pliers all the way and then over the top, and then do the one in the middle, go all the way around again, and this time it's coming underneath. And then we can do the final one and literally just do a full circle with that. And as you can see, we've also run out of wire. So these are the 4 paw prints. Then I just want to go to the back of the paw prints here, and we just need to get rid of the excess little tails that we have left. So for the top one where we just finished, you can just cut it off where that last circle basically is complete. The very end of the wire now, basically when we flatten it, meets up with itself. So it kind of goes against the side of itself. And for the bottom one here, I'm just going to cut it a little bit shorter, closer to where we have that 90-degree bend. Like that, just so we don't have any excess ends sticking out anywhere. And then we have the paw prints ready. So what I then just want to do is compare the paw prints to the frame here. Obviously make sure they fit, which you can also do throughout, because we can still make a few little adjustments. So just place it on the front of the frame there. I can see it almost fits, but it's just a little bit too large in some places. So what I need to do is just adjust these kind of connection points between the paw prints, because we can still adjust the angle on that. So for instance, I'm grabbing onto the connection point between the first and the second paw print where the wire is just coming underneath, and you can adjust the angle, which will change how it will fit in the frame. So place it back in and see if it's a better fit. And then of course the same with the other ones as well. You can just adjust the angle to however you need it, so even after you finish making the paw prints, just to get that perfect fit. Then we need to connect the paw prints to the frame, which is where I've cut off a wire of a 0.3mm wire, and it doesn't really matter how much, just about 30 centimeters, so you can always cut off more. And then bringing in the paw prints and the frame, and obviously we just want to place them where we want them to sit. It can be a little bit helpful to put the cabochon in and then place the paw prints so you know where you need to attach a wire first of all. So I want my paw prints to sit somewhat like this, so then I can tell that a connection point is going to be right here where this part of the paw print meets with the frame. So that means I'm going to want to attach my wire first of all right here. So just get rid of the cabochon and the paw prints, because I just want to attach the wire to the frame first of all. And I'm just doing that in between the weaved parts that I've done in the frame. There's little gaps so we can fit in the 0.3mm wire perfectly. And I'm going between the 2 front base wires as well. Just leave a short little tail to hold on to. And then I'm just going to go through the same gap here. So bring it through again and pull it all the way. So we're wrapping around that very front base wire by itself, and just pull that down and just do that a couple of times. And once you have it attached, I'm going to grab the paw print here, just make sure it's facing the right way. And then I want to go through that part of it that's going to be right close up to the frame. And I'm going through it, so I end up basically attaching this with the figure of 8 wire weave. So I'm coming from below the base wire in the frame, and then I'm going over the top of the base wire in the paw print. And then just bring it down to sit right close to the frame there. And then I want to make sure to just go through that again. So I'm going to wrap around twice on the paw print in the same direction, and those 2 wraps to sit right next to each other. Now the most fiddly part is the first connection point here, because obviously there's only the one connection point, so the paw prints will be moving around quite easily still. But make sure that they sit nice and close next to the frame, and then take the weaving wire, and then I'm going to go to the next gap in the weave on the frame. And sometimes I find it can be helpful just to grab the very end of the weaving wire with your pliers to help guide it through, and then just pull it through. And of course here as well, I want you to just wrap around this front base wire in this same gap in the weave a few times, just like we did when we attached the weaving wire. And then what I like to do is just cut off the excess and just leave a short little tail, and just go back at the end and finish off all these little ends. Then you just want to grab what you have left of your weaving wire there and reach the point that's going to be the next connection point between the frame and the paw print. So whatever part of the paw print here that meets up with the frame, I want to connect all the way around. Once I've attached them all the way around, I just want to get rid of the ends here. here. So I'm just going to go in one at a time, cut off the excess where the final wrap is going around the base wire, then grab my tweezers nose pliers and just make sure to push it down, and then I like to just squeeze it down and then roll the pliers in the direction that the wrap is going, just to tuck the very end in between all the other wires there. And the same with the one on the opposite end that's going in the opposite direction. Cut off the excess and then squeeze it down with your pliers and roll it in the direction that the wrap is going, and just get rid of all these ends of wire in the same way. So this is now the front done. I'm going to flip it to the back, and then we have these base wires in the back left to deal with, and of course also capturing the cabochon itself. So first of all, I just want to make sure that all these wires in the back are in the right position, so they're pretty evenly split out. And once you have them separated how you want them to be, I'm going to go in and cut off the excess, but make sure I leave enough of a length so we can make loops on the ends here. So just go around all of them and cut off the excess here. So we have something a bit like that. Then again, I'm going to grab my 6-step bell making pliers because I now want to make loops on each of these. And again, just using the small step on here to make sure they all become the same size. So I'm just going to start on one end, start with the first wire here, go to the very end of the wire and start rolling it inwards to create a full circle, something like that. Now what you can see here is that this is sticking out beyond the frame. So we don't want that. That means I can go in and cut off a bit from the very end of the wire, and then bring this circle in further like that. So it's now closer, but there's still a little bit too much of an overlap. So rather cut the excess wire off when you cut these lengths down so you have too much left, because you can then always go in and cut off a bit at a time here until we get just the right length, rather than if you cut off too much, obviously you can't add to it. And then roll it in until we're almost there. Just want to cut off just a little bit more, and then hopefully this should be it. Roll it in so we have that complete circle, and then the outside of that circle there meets up nicely with the frame, and you just want to go around and do that with all of them. And once all the loops are in place all the way around, we need to also start attaching these to the frame. So again, I'm getting a length of my 0.3 mil, so whatever you're comfortable working with, and then just find the point where this loop meets up with the frame, attach the wire in the same way as I showed you for the paw prints, and then go around the loop twice and go back to the frame for the next opening gap in the weave there, and then also go around there a few times and attach all of them like that in the same way. Now don't forget, before we go beyond the widest point down here, we just need to remember to add in the cabochon, because obviously if you attach all of them you can't get the cabochon in there, so don't forget to do that. And then of course we just need to finish off the ends in the same way as well. So just go in and cut off the excess, make sure to push it down so no ends are sticking out, and again do that with all the ends. And then all that's left to do is add your chain to the bail, and your pendant is finished and ready to wear. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now don't forget, these pendants will be available for sale in my shop, so you can go there using the link in the description box below, where you can also sign up to my newsletter so you don't miss any future updates. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.